What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. I'm the regular host, Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. Hello and welcome to Exposé with Tony Akinyemi. Today we begin another series, and that will be on strategies for preventing and reversing arthritis. Strategies for preventing and reversing arthritis. Quite a number of people have been emailing me and messaging me to say, when are you going to talk about arthritis? When are you going to talk about arthritis? To date, we've discussed quite a lot. We've talked about diabetes, we've talked about cardiovascular diseases, including hypertension. We've talked about infertility. We've talked about so many interesting things. And now is the turn of arthritis. So for the next couple of episodes, we'll be dealing with arthritis. Now, the aims and objectives in this series are essentially three. Number one, we want to show you how to prevent arthritis if you don't have it. I personally believe that arthritis is one of those largely preventable diseases. The second objective is to show you how to reverse arthritis if you already have it. Now, contrary to conventional medical opinion that thinks of arthritis as something difficult to reverse, if at all, I can tell you categorically and authoritatively, based on my personal experience working with people, that through faith and food, your arthritis can become a thing of the past in a matter of weeks or months, as the case may be. So that's our second objective. If you already have arthritis, you have already been diagnosed with one, how do you reverse it? Now, the third objective is, of course, to debunk the myths about arthritis, that it is incurable. Now, I have a number of testimonies that I could share with you. Now, I was in the United States of America to attend a health seminar a couple of years ago. There was a lady there who had very terrible arthritis, who stood up and shared her story of how she was able to reverse her arthritis. And that was an inspiration to me. Well, I have thought all along that they said this thing is irreversible, but now this lady was able to reverse hers. And I said, wow, it's worth giving it a shot. If anybody has arthritis, we can begin to think of how to help the individual to reverse it. And then in the year 2005, 17 years ago, precisely September 2005, a little over 17 years now, I did a health seminar in a church somewhere in Adeni Jones area of Ikeja, Lagos State, Nigeria, in a church. And a lady there took up the challenge. I taught on the 30-day challenge, one of my, flagship seminar topics, and she said, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. She had arthritis. She'd been nursing for 2 years. And when she took on this challenge, within weeks, her arthritis was gone. She was so thrilled, so excited, just as much as I was when she shared her story with me. That was a second, testimony regarding the reversal of arthritis. And it's been over 17 years now, since September 2005, that this lady I'm talking about was able to reverse her arthritis through faith and food. And till today, she's still free of arthritis. Okay. And then there is a third one, a woman in the city of Akure, the capital of Ondo State in Nigeria. I went there also for a seminar, and I shared a few thoughts with them, regarding arthritis. And she had this arthritis in her fingers that everywhere was, when she folded her fingers, it was difficult to, straighten them out. It was very painful. All the knuckles were very inflamed and painful. A grandmother, and I told her a few things to do, some of the things I'll be sharing with you in this series, and she began to practice it. Dietary adjustment, lifestyle adjustment, a few supplements, what have you. And her pains began to disappear. The swelling began to disappear. Flexibility returned to her fingers and what have you. And she was so thrilled. She shared her story with me the following year when I went back for another seminar. And then her children who live abroad came home to visit. And they saw their mother, and they said, "Oh, Mommy, what happened to you? You are so lean. You've lost a lot of weight." And Grandma said, "Well, I'm on a new diet." They said, "Why are you on a new diet?" She said, "All my fingers were riddled with arthritis. And a man came to our city and told us to adjust our diet and lifestyle, and arthritis will be gone." And I did. And now I'm arthritis-free. But the children were not comfortable with her weight. They felt she was too lean. She needed to add a little weight. They wanted to see their mother plumpy so that people would say that they are taking good care of their mother. So they convinced this woman to go back to her old diet, and she did. And within months, her arthritis was back. The pain, the swelling, the inflammation, and what have you. And so she had to go back to the dietary plan that I suggested, and then arthritis was gone again. And that convinced me that through diet and lifestyle change, you can actually deal with arthritis. There was another woman in 2010, the year 2010. Okay, that's probably about 13 years ago now. Precisely in April 2010, she sent me an email, I still remember, because the email, fell exactly on my wedding anniversary. So I remember, the day and the month. It was April 20, the year 2010. And she told me that, she had arthritis. They had taken her to the UK for treatment and all of that. She came back. Nothing changed much until I went to Port Harcourt in Nigeria, the capital of Rivers State, and I did a seminar there on arthritis. And then she began to practice some of the suggestions. And then she was able to climb staircases, go upstairs to several floors. And she sent me an email and she was so thrilled. She was so happy that now she's a completely changed woman. Okay, she reversed her arthritis. And there are many more testimonies I could share with you that space and time, will not permit me. We have just barely 30 minutes on Exposé, and I don't want to consume all your time sharing testimonies. But I want you to understand that there are really no incurable diseases, so to speak. There are only incurable people. What do I mean by that? People who are unwilling and who are not ready to change their diet, change their lifestyle, change their belief system, change their mindset, change their attitude, change the way they do life. They are not ready. And those are the ones that are incurable people. Diseases themselves respond to change. Once you effect certain changes in your life, in your belief system, in your mindset, in your attitude, in your diet, in your lifestyle, when you effect changes, consequently, disease too will change your body, will change your symptoms, will change, okay? So there are no incurable diseases. There are only incurable people, okay? As we go on, I want you to take note of some of the things I'll be sharing and begin to apply them either in prevention or in reversal. Okay, so let's begin with the first question here today. What exactly is arthritis? What is arthritis? Now, arthritis is a term used to describe more than 100 different musculoskeletal problems. There are over 100 different conditions that come under the term arthritis. And it is estimated, that approximately half of all people that are 65 years old and above report having one form or degree of arthritis or the other. In other words, it's more a disease of the elderly. So it is said that about half of those who are 65 years old and above have one form of arthritis to one degree or the other in their bodies. Now, arthritis usually affects all joints. It can affect any joint in the body. It can affect the neck, the neck bone. It can affect the shoulders. It can affect the fingers. It can affect the hip. it can affect the knees, it can affect the ankles, it can affect the toes, any joint in the body. I hope you can show on the screen the image of those circled, colored portions in the skeletal structure, all the locations where arthritis can affect. All right, so it affects the neck, the shoulder, the spine, the lower back, the hip, the knees, the fingers, the toes. Sometimes the location where arthritis affects determines the name that medical professionals give to it. Okay, if it's affecting the upper neck right here and the upper shoulder stroke the neck here, they call it cervical spondylosis. Cervical spondylosis. If it affects the lower back right here, they call that lumbar spondylosis. Okay, if it affects the big toes of the leg, they call it gouty arthritis. Now, there are different types of arthritis. We'll be looking at all of that. But like I said, it can affect the spine, it can affect the knee, it can affect the hip, the hand, the foot. Now, when arthritis strikes, there are telltale signs. It is usually characterized by certain things. Now, I'm going to mention at least 5 things that characterize arthritis. When a person is stricken with arthritis, the first characteristics is pain in the joints. Pain in the knees, it could be in the elbows, in the wrists, it could be the upper back stroke neck, it could be in the hip or the lower back, it could be at the toes. Pain in the joints. That's the first characteristic of arthritis. The second characteristic is stiffness and diminished range of motion. Now, the fingers may not be able to easily fold and stretch out, okay? Some people will fold their hands and the finger will just get hooked there. It won't be able to come. They'll have to use their hand, to push it back, all right? And there's a lot of pain, a lot of stiffness, a lot of diminished range of motion. People suffering from arthritis may not be able to bend down and rise up easily. That's the second characteristics, stiffness and diminished range of motion. The third one is swelling. A lot of inflammation, a lot of swelling, a lot of soreness characterize arthritis. The fourth one could be bone growth. They are called spurs, S-P-U-R. Okay, spurs may develop in the affected joint. The bone can be shooting out and growing out. Okay, and the fifth one is deformity. Some people actually become deformed. The legs can cave in and form K-leg. It can form, bow leg. It can actually even confine some people to the wheelchair. That's deformity. It can deform parts of the body. Fingers can be twisted and deformed. These are all characteristics of arthritis. So it's either pain in the joints, stiffness and diminished range of motion, swelling, bone growth, and then deformity. These are things that characterize arthritis. And there are different types of arthritis. So if somebody says, oh, I've been diagnosed with arthritis, I say, oh, what type? Quite often they don't even know the type. They are just told that they have arthritis. But you need to be acquainted with the different types of arthritis because the type would determine the best approach in dealing with it. Okay, so I'm going to share a few types. I mentioned there are over 100 types. We can't possibly go over all the 100 types of forms of arthritis, but we're going to choose some representative types to illustrate the different types and how they are categorized. So let me start with the first type for discussion today, and that's what I describe as traumatic arthritis. And you can guess that from the word traumatic. It means that arthritis resulting from trauma. Trauma, when a person suffers trauma to particularly major joints of the body. Maybe somebody was playing, sports, was doing sports, or was running, or somebody fell, or there was an accident or anything, and then there was injury in any of the joints. If that was not properly cared for at the time the trauma happened, the injury happened, it could lay the foundation for a form of arthritis in the future that is called traumatic arthritis. In other words, that part of the body was traumatized. That part of the body was injured. So it's a form of arthritis that results from past injury or trauma. Okay? Maybe somebody fell and then some of the cartilage, at the joint actually got cracked and it didn't mend very well. It could be 10 years down the road, probably even 20 years down the road. And that part of the body begins to suffer a lot of degeneration, a lot of swelling, a lot of inflammation, a lot of pain as a result of the trauma that the individual suffered at that time, many years ago. Okay, so the site of the trauma becomes the site for the arthritis. That is traumatic arthritis. Now, the second type is called suppurative arthritis. Suppurative, S-U-P-P-U-R-A-T-I-V-E. That is the type of arthritis that is arising from infection. Certain infections, particularly of the major joints. There could be an infection because, you see, at the joint, particularly if you look at the knee, at the joint where the leg folds, there is lubrication there. There's a fluid that lubricates that joint. It's called the synovial fluid. Now, it can get infected. And when it gets infected, that can cause that place to swell, to become inflamed, to become painful. And you now experience diminished range of motion because the more you move it, the more pain you feel. That is arthritis arising from infection. That's called suppurative arthritis. We're going to go on a short break. And when we come back, we will continue to describe different types, more types of arthritis. Don't forget, this is Exposé with Tony Akinyemi, and what we need is not more medication, but more education. For the best prescription is knowledge. I'll be back very shortly.
Meet Emily. She is passionate about living a healthy life, but finds it difficult to access information on health and wellness.
Cancer is survivable.
That is until she discovered the online healthy living training offered by Reverend Tony Akinyemi on lms.rafainstitute.org. The online healthy living training program is a comprehensive interactive course that covers topics such as nutrition, fitness, stress management, and mental health. The course is designed to provide participants with practical tips and strategies to improve their health and well-being. Emily is now equipped with the knowledge and skills she needs to live a healthy life. Join Emily and countless others in living a healthy life by signing up for the online healthy living training program today.
Welcome back. Once again, this is Exposé with Tony Akinyemi. We're talking about preventing and reversing arthritis. Strategies for preventing and reversing arthritis. Right now, we're talking about different types of arthritis. Don't forget, we have said there are over 100 different types of arthritis. So I just want to describe some samples of the 100. The first one we have looked at today is traumatic arthritis. Arthritis arising from past injury or trauma. The second one is suppurative arthritis. Arthritis arising out of infection of the joints. And now the third type is called osteoarthritis, probably the most common in my view. Okay? It is also known as degenerative joint disease. This is the type of arthritis that usually comes with aging. As people get older, the wear and tear of the bones and the cartilage in particular, and that begins to affect the joints. That is osteoarthritis. When you hear anything osteo in medical language, is in reference to the bones. Okay? Now, anything itis is inflammation. So osteoarthritis, simply put, to be inflammation of the bones, and that comes with age, wear and tear. There is eroding cartilage. There is sometimes exposed bone. There could be bone spurs and all of that. Now, if you look at every major joint in the body, where this bone meets with this bone here, at the head of the bone here and at the head of the bone here, there is cartilage, what in layman's language we call biscuit bone. Okay, this whitish substance, it covers the head of this bone, covers the head of this bone, and the two come together at the joint. And then there are ligaments and tendons, to hold the two bones in alignment so they don't misalign. They can stay in alignment perpetually. And then in between the two head of the bones covered with cartilage, there is lubrication, synovial fluid, so that as the bones move like that, there will be no friction. There will be free and easy movement. That's called lubrication, okay? That is by the synovial fluid. Now, sometimes there is wear and tear of the cartilage here, The cartilage begins to peel off here, and the bones too get degenerated, and they get weaker. And before you know it, sometimes the exposed portion where the cartilage has been peeled off now begins to touch on this other bone here, and there is excruciating pain because there is now bone-on-bone contact. The cartilage that is supposed to act like a shock absorber is no longer there. It's exposed. And so bone-on-bone contact, that pain can be so excruciating. If it happens on the knees, the person will not be able to walk at all because he won't be able to bear the pain. So they confine such people to the wheelchair, okay? They do, kneecap replacement. They do all kinds of, surgeries, hip bone replacement when all of those wear and tear have happened, particularly for some people who suffer from what is known as avascular necrosis. Avascular necrosis is when the head of the hip bone, the cartilage there begins to wear and the head begins to atrophy, begins to shrink, okay? And that begins to give a lot of pain in the hip. So they cut off that atrophied head of the bone and replace it with a metal, all right? So hip bone replacement for people who have suffered avascular necrosis. Now, so osteoarthritis has to do with the wear and tear, degeneration, and that's called degenerative joint disease. That is the third type of arthritis that we're talking about today. Now, the fourth type of arthritis is rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis, can also be cartilage wear, and reduced joint space as a result of that. But then it's quite often known as inflammatory arthritis, and quite often it is due to an autoimmune disorder. Autoimmune disorders are disorders caused by the immune system attacking parts of the body. Depending on which part of the body is attacked, that determines the name that medical science gives to that condition. For example, when the immune system begins to attack the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys, that's called Addison's disease. When the immune system begins to attack the pigment-making cells on the body, the melanin-making cells on the skin, that is called vitiligo, where portions of the body begins to become whitish and peel off, and there are patches all over the place, particularly around the nose, around the mouth, around the ears, around the arms, like that. That's vitiligo. Now, when the immune system begins to attack the liver, that is non-viral hepatitis. Okay, when the immune system now begins to attack the connective tissues at the joints, okay, that's called rheumatoid arthritis. There are different tests that doctors will carry out in order to determine the type of arthritis that a person may have. It could be X-ray, it could be MRI, it could be, blood tests. They can check for some factors, rheumatoid factor. They can check your uric acid level. They can check, for some proteins in your blood. You can do the ANA test and different kinds of tests that are carried out just to be able to situate the type of arthritis that a person may be having. But today, the fourth one we're discussing is called rheumatoid arthritis. And usually people who are afflicted with that, they find that the symptoms they are feeling, they are bilateral. In other words, both sides of the body. So if the left knee is affected, the right knee is also affected. The right hand, the left hand, both sides of the body. But when it is osteoarthritis, wear and tear, quite often it may be unilateral. Maybe just one knee, the other knee is fine, the other, only one is experiencing wear and tear. Of course, it can affect both as well, but typically one part of the body, the other part is still okay. But when it is rheumatoid, usually it is systemic because it's just every part of the body that the immune system is launching an attack against. The fifth type of arthritis that we will discuss today is Kawasaki syndrome, or the Kawasaki disease. Now, it's a type of disease that primarily affects young children. and believed to be caused by a non-contagious infection. A kind of infection that is non-contagious. It is only the child that is infected that will be experiencing those symptoms. And the symptoms include pink eye, oral mucosa change, enlarged lymph nodes, patchy rash on the skin, peeling skin, heart muscle inflammation, carditis, okay, or sometimes coronary artery aneurysm. All of these are a group of symptoms usually affecting children under the age of 5. And it's called Kawasaki disease or Kawasaki syndrome. It's a type of arthritis, an inflammatory disease. Now, the 6th type of arthritis is juvenile arthritis, similar to Kawasaki syndrome, except that this time around, it is not characterized by all those symptoms of different organs that we have seen in Kawasaki syndrome, but it is arthritis found in children under the age of 16. When you see a child below 16 experiencing arthritis, that's called juvenile arthritis. Of course, the name juvenile gives it away. It means young people, okay? Juvenile arthritis. That's the 6th type that we're looking at today. The 7th type is ankylosing spondylitis, or AS for short. That is the arthritis that is affecting the spine, the backbone. When the backbone is affected, there's a fusion of the vertebrae. Normally, the backbone has, a bone and then another bone, and in between the two bones, there is cartilage that serves as shock absorber and cushioning. But sometimes when you see that cartilage is almost gone, and then this vertebra fuses with this one, and everything becomes straight and fused. It doesn't have the flexibility of bending, like that. That is called AS, or ankylosing spondylitis. Now, sometimes when it affects an individual, when they are breathing, the rib cage, the ribs are here, and when you are breathing, your rib cage expands and collapses, and it hinges on the backbone. The backbone is the hinge, okay, where it rolls and folds like that. But once the backbone or the spine has been fused and become rigid due to AS, what happens is that when the person is breathing, it's very difficult and there's a lot of pain because of the expansion of the rib cage and the collapsing and expansion of the rib cage. All right, that is the type of arthritis known as ankylosing spondylitis. The 8th type of arthritis is gout, G-O-U-T. It is the type of arthritis usually affecting the big toes of the leg, the big toes, either the right or the left. It could be one toe, it could be both toes. It is said that this is very common, more common among men than women. I don't know why, but that is what has been observed, that gouty arthritis, or gout, simply gout, affects men more than women. Of course, it can affect women, but it affects men more than women. Okay, there is also bone erosion, and then there is urate or uric acid crystals that gather on the joint of the big toe, where the big toe connects to the foot. There's a lot of uric acid crystals called urate, U-R-A-T-E, that gather there. And then there's a lot of synovium in that joint also, okay? Now, so that makes the toe very, very painful. That once a person is stricken with gouty arthritis, they are not able to wear shoes, cover shoes anymore. They have to wear slippers or sandals, and a lot of uric acid at the joints, can create that. There is something I normally recommend to people with gouty arthritis. It's a very simple supplement. It's called uric acid cleanse. Uric acid cleanse. And then, of course, that's accompanied with a change of diet, because you have to change your diet in such a way that you reduce the amount of uric acid being generated as metabolic waste in your body. And then there's a way you also flush out excess uric acid in your body. Now, as we eat and digest and process our food, we do generate some amount of uric acid, and our excretory system is capable of, excreting, removing the uric acid from our system. But if the rate at which you are generating the uric acid is higher than the rate at which your excretory system is able to remove them, then the excess that is, remaining, they are warehoused at your major joints, particularly at your foot, and then it can lead to gouty arthritis. Now, the 9th type of arthritis we talk about today is systemic lupus. Now, yes, lupus is also a form of arthritis. They call it systemic lupus erythematosus, or SLE for short, SLE. Now, a lot of things are involved. It's a very complicated condition and very, very, it could be life-threatening even. It really compromises the quality of life when a person suffers lupus or SLE. All right. Now, systemic lupus or SLE for short can affect any organ in the body, and it may cause a wide range of symptoms. You know, the symptoms can vary from person to person, and the symptom can even change from time to time, even within the same person. Now, the same person who is afflicted with lupus may be experiencing maybe 3 sets of symptoms today, and by next month, the symptoms will change to another set. It's very unpredictable. And over time, it can even lead to organ damage and probably even fatality, can lead to death. Now, the symptoms of systemic lupus include extreme fatigue that doesn't go away with rest, joint pain, stiffness and swelling in 2 or more joints, fever of over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, muscle pain, hair loss, skin sores and rashes, which may occur in a butterfly-shaped pattern across the cheeks and the nose. You know, the nose or mouth can develop sores, usually painless sores, and then skin rashes after sun exposure. When somebody is experiencing lupus and they go under the sun, they begin to develop rashes. Now, what are the causes of all of these things? Our time is really fast spent and being signaled, so I may have to defer the discussion on that till the next episode. So you keep a date with us on Facebook and YouTube, and we're going to be talking about the causes of arthritis. And then we will progress to how do we then prevent arthritis or reverse arthritis. Now, this is Exposé with Tony Akinyemi, all right? And it comes up every Monday, 8 p.m. West African time, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. Join us on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. And if you are yet to like us on Facebook, please go ahead and do so. And I want you to do a few things for me if you are watching us on YouTube. First of all, I want you to give us a thumbs up if you believe this is very informative and useful to you. All right, there is a thumbs up button there. Just click on it. All right, and then after watching it, share this video with your friends and colleagues. Okay, and if you are yet to subscribe, just click on the subscribe button. And the fourth thing to do is to also click on the notification bell so that when next we come live or we upload a new video, your device will alert you, whether it's your iPad, your phone, your laptop or desktop, whatever you're using to watch us. Okay, the device will alert you when the time comes. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education. For the best prescription is knowledge. To be informed is to be transformed, and to be uninformed is to be deformed. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with me. We will keep it short and sharp henceforth so that it will be easy for you to just connect with us and be able to internalize the bits and pieces of bite sizes of information that we're sharing with you. We do not want to give you mental constipation. That's why we're making it brief, short, and sharp. Okay? I hope this has been very useful today. See you same time on the same platform next week, God willing. Do enjoy the rest of the week and have a beautiful Monday evening. May your year pan out so beautifully this year to the glory of God. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Meet Emily. She is passionate about living a healthy life, but finds it difficult to access information on health and wellness.
Cancer is survivable.
That is until she discovered the online healthy living training offered by Reverend Tony Akinyemi on lms.rafainstitute.org. The online healthy living training program is a comprehensive interactive course that covers topics such as nutrition, fitness, stress management, and mental health. The course is designed to provide participants with practical tips and strategies to improve their health and well-being. Emily is now equipped with the knowledge and skills she needs to live a healthy life. Join Emily and countless others in living a healthy life by signing up for the online healthy living training program today.